It is September 27th, 1997. Nelson Mandela has gathered a galaxy of stars at the presidential guest house in Pretoria to celebrate his charity. The atmosphere is electric, buzzing with politicians and icons. But around midnight, the party is over. The house is silent. Naomi Campbell, one of the guests of honor, is asleep in her room. She is startled awake by a knock. When she opens the door, she finds two men standing in the darkness. They offer no names. They simply hand the supermodel a small, unassuming pouch and say, "A gift for you." Naomi takes it, closes the door, and returns to bed. She assumes it is just another trinket from a wealthy fan. She goes back to sleep, unaware that she has just taken possession of the most controversial evidence in the court. To understand the true weight of what is sitting on her nightstand, we have to leave the luxury of the guest house and travel to the Kono district of Sierra Leone. Here, the ground is turned into a sea of red mud. There are no supermodels, only prisoners forced at gunpoint by rebel commanders to dig with their bare hands. In 1997, this region is controlled by the Revolutionary United Front, a group notorious for amputation and terror. When a prisoner pulls a rough diamond from the slime, it goes to a warlord. These specific stones were washed, sorted, and packed not into velvet boxes, but into empty glass mayonnaise jars. Witnesses later described how commanders carried these mayonnaise jars across the border into Liberia, dumping the uncut gems onto the table of Charles Taylor. In exchange, the warlord provided the guns that kept the mines running. The stones were smuggled out of West Africa and brought to South Africa in his secret war chest, intended to buy weapons. But why were these specific stones pulled from the stockpile that night? Hours earlier, at Mandela's celebratory dinner, Naomi had been seated next to Charles Taylor. He wasn't discussing politics, he was flirting. To impress the global icon, the warlord leaned in and promised her a gift, a flex of immense wealth from a man who couldn't simply walk into a jewelry store. Because of that dinner party promise, a handful of diamonds were pulled from the stockpile, placed in a pouch, and walked down a hallway to Naomi's door. When morning breaks, Naomi finally opens the pouch. She sees dirty-looking stones. They're rough, dull, and pebbly. At breakfast, she shows them to fellow guests, including actress Mia Farrow. The realization hits the table quickly. These are blood diamonds. Farrow warns her, "You can't keep those." Naomi wants nothing to do with them. Later, aboard the famous blue train to Cape Town, she hands the pouch to Jeremy Ratcliffe, the director of the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund. Ratcliffe, terrified of the scandal, locks them in a safe. There they sit for 13 years. Fast forward to 2010. The special court for Sierra Leone in The Hague. Naomi Campbell is not on a runway, she's on a witness stand. She is reluctant, calling the subpoena a terrible inconvenience. But when she confirms receiving the dirty-looking stones following the dinner with Taylor, she inadvertently closes the loop. The stones she tried to give away became the physical link between the mayonnaise jars in the jungle and the arms trade in South Africa. Naomi Campbell thought she was just accepting a gift. In reality, she was holding the evidence that would help lock a warlord away for 50 years. If you enjoyed this forensic deep dive into the hidden side of history, please hit that like button. It helps us get these stories in front of more people. Thanks for watching.